Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Tony Lopez. I'll be showing you today's presentation, which is Digital Assets 101. My intention here today is to demonstrate the fundamentals about crypto. Crypto is not for everyone, and we want to make sure at Verus Financial that our people, our customers are well informed about crypto, and we do our best to be your advocates and consult you in the best way that we can. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the presentation. Here we go. So a disclosure is that everything we talk about here is going to be not financial advice. Naturally, if we're going to support anyone, we need to know your financial profile. We need to know your risk tolerance. And in order to do that, we typically want to have a consultation with you. So please note that anything that we talk about at this presentation is going to be for your purpose of education. And if you want to do a deeper dive, feel free to schedule a time with Verus Financial. So a little bit about me. I'll be your facilitator. I've been in financial services for over 14 years. I sold my wealth management business last year. I exited financial services, and I chose to spend most of my time over the last few years in crypto, and really focused my time, energy, and effort on decentralized finance. So after that, I was reached out to by Verus Financial, and I was asked to support their clients and anyone that would like to engage with Verus Financial on any questions related to digital assets, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, NFTs, decentralized finance. I am the go-to person for anything crypto related. Today's agenda, I'm going to talk about the current crypto market, talk about key terms, talk about what is decentralized finance, and also talk about NFTs. So where are we right now? Bitcoin, I feel in the last 2 months has gone down almost 50%. And the technicals would say that right now we are in a bear market. What is a bear market? A bear market means that we have a higher probability of staying flat or going down, as opposed to having Bitcoin to continue to go up. Now that can change in any minute, any moment, who knows? The reality is Bitcoin went up significantly over the last 3-4 years, and it's corrections like this make the crypto market extremely healthy. But I want to spend some time talking about what created this crypto winter. What created the crypto winter is the over leverage that we found in decentralized finance. What does that mean? Well, we had a lot of individuals and a lot of companies that put many of their assets in the decentralized finance ecosystem, meaning that they were buying Bitcoin and they were taking loans on their Bitcoin to purchase other alternative assets. So these alternative assets started to underperform because, candidly, there were some attacks that happened in certain ecosystems. There were some targeted attacks. We saw the first one in around May 8th last month on Luna's ecosystem, where we had in a huge company. No one knows who it is yet. No one took the credit. I don't think anyone will. And they were putting a lot of their assets in the ecosystem, and they waited for a time, specifically when inflation was going to get announced. And when inflation was announced, the market did not respond healthy. Like they felt that there was, because interest rates were going up at such a substantial rate, there was too much risk in the stock market. People started selling a lot of growth stocks, a lot of equities, which then influenced Bitcoin. Bitcoin started going down significantly. And at that moment, those attackers started liquidating all their assets from the Luna ecosystem. Well, what ended up happening is what they called a death spiral, where that particular ecosystem couldn't honor the amount of withdrawals that were happening at that moment. It's called a bank run. We saw that in the early 1900s in the United States, where so many people were panicking at one time, and it was hard to reconcile all the withdrawals at once. And when that didn't happen, there was even more panic. So that ecosystem actually went to zero. We're starting to see that now, where other decentralized finance companies are being that have been over leveraged are being are risking insolvency. So again, this happens in any bear market. Companies that are over leveraged tend to go away. So again, we like to say that this is very healthy, and in some situations could present buying opportunities for individuals. So that's a little bit of a recap of where we are right now. Where we are in a month from now, who knows? Crypto moves so fast. But because Bitcoin is the most, in my opinion, the most liquid asset, and it's most liquid because it's one of the only areas that you can go to and withdraw your money at any point of the day. If you want to withdraw money from the banks, you can only do that, in large transactions while during banking hours, or send money to and from parties during banking hours. Well, in Bitcoin, you can send money and liquidate it at all times. So because it's the most liquid asset and most liquid financial instrument, you can get a sense of where the rest of the market is going beforehand. So if Bitcoin tends to rally, tends to go up, which we've seen a little bit, then that typically indicates that the rest of the financial markets are going to bounce as well. So best case, worst case. Best case scenario is that during this crypto winter, we trade sideways, meaning that Bitcoin fluctuates between 18,000 up to 28,000 and consolidates at that range for a period of time until all the sellers get exhausted, and then it starts picking up again. We'd say that would be a best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that we continue to see more crypto companies get liquidated in the decentralized finance space, and that causes the price of Bitcoin to continue to drop lower. So we can very easily see Bitcoin go down to 16,000, and then the next level from there, what we look at levels of support, would be down to 10,000. Levels of support meaning, historically speaking, where have there been a lot of people buying? And typically, I'd say if you look at the stats, about 60% of the people that buy Bitcoin don't sell it. What assets to look for? I think we mentioned that is take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator of where financial markets, could go. If you look at the traditional financial markets as it relates to crypto, you have some crypto-related stocks like Square. Square is a blockchain technology company. A lot of people are bullish on the blockchain technology. That's one that a lot of people are monitoring. In addition to, you see a lot of miners, companies that mined Bitcoin, that have been selling Bitcoin, which is actually one of the main reasons Bitcoin has gone down so fast. They were selling Bitcoin for their shareholders. So, things to take a look at on the traditional markets, and also on the non-traditional markets. Decoupling possibilities. What that means is Bitcoin and the tech sector have been very similar. If Apple goes up and Amazon goes up that same day, there's a high likelihood that Bitcoin's going to go up as well. That's been very true over the last year and a half. Some experts would say that during a recession could present the possibility where Bitcoin decouples, meaning is no longer tracking technology, that it kind of goes and becomes more uncorrelated to the tech sector. So interesting things to take a look at. As I mentioned, things move very fast. When we do our next webinar, we can see where the markets are at that point. So, for you beginners out there, this is Digital Assets 101. Many of you want to be informed, and we want to support you in your journey of being educated. And what that means is if you read magazines or you jump on any webinars, there's going to be a lot of terms that people use that you may not understand. Like for me, honestly, it took me about 1.5 to 2 years to really understand the crypto language. It's a completely different dialect. It's the best way to explain it. And until you hear these words used often and regularly, does it really kind of start making sense? So to help curb your your learning curve, I listed some basic terms that may or may not support you in learning more about crypto. So the first one that I have here is a decentralized autonomous organization. A lot of people just use the phrase DAOs. This is a DAO. This is a DAO here. This is a DAO there, right? Well, what's a decentralized autonomous organization? Well, the best way I can compare that is by telling you what it's not. What it's not, it's not like a publicly traded company, right? A publicly traded company like Google or Amazon or Apple has a board of directors and they have shareholders, right? The shareholders own the company and the board of directors have to do what's in the best interest of the shareholders. Well, in a decentralized autonomous organization, there are no shareholders. That doesn't exist. And the people that actually have the voting rights are individuals that choose to put their money in this organization. So the more money you have, typically the more votes that you have. And you can choose, for example, if Min and I were to create a decentralized autonomous organization and we had $1 million in that fund, everyone that was in that organization that has money with our fund can vote. And they said, we want 10% of the earnings every year to go to charity. And if we get maximum people voting on that, and that proposal gets approved, then we have to abide by those laws. 10% of the profits are going to have to go to charity every year. Well, in a publicly traded company, you don't really see shareholders make proposals and vote on them. That doesn't really exist. Typically the board of directors and the CEO are going to choose where the company is going to go, and the shareholders are going to have the results of those decisions, whether they're good or bad. If they're bad, the price of the company may go down. If it does well, the price of the company may go up, and that would benefit the shareholders. So, gives you a little bit of a difference where the individual has a bit more say, and that's the purpose of these decentralized autonomous organizations, for people to make proposals, vote, and have a say. So I'm going to pause and let that digest, because I'm sure that was a lot. The next one is adapt. Okay. Adapt. It's the same thing as an app. Everyone knows what an app is, I would think. You go on the Apple Store, you download Google Maps. You might have Yelp on there. You may have Uber Eats, Uber. These are all applications that are all on a centralized network, right? Apple's network is centralized, right? Meaning that it's controlled by Apple. Adapt is just a decentralized application. Again, decentralized means it's not controlled by any one party. Decentralized means where people have more say, where people can vote on a proposal and dictate where funds go, dictate who gets to join, who doesn't get to join. So a dApp is all it means. It's an application that's on the decentralized network, right? There's a lot of apps that people use in decentralized finance, where people can go on there, put their Bitcoin on the application and take loans on it and use that money and send it back to their checking account, or use that money to buy other cryptocurrencies or other crypto assets, NFTs, anything that you want. So an application, a dApp, decentralized application, is just something that serves on the decentralized network. You've heard me say DeFi a lot, decentralized finance. Decentralized finance, again, the opposite of that would be traditional finance. Traditional finance is what Verus's core offerings are, right? Educating people on retirement via 401ks, IRAs, Roth IRAs, trust accounts, buying stocks, bonds, mutual funds. That's traditional finance. Even banking would be under the traditional finance umbrella, where people go, send checks to make payments, wire money to and from people. That you'll hear that people call that traditional finance, or even legacy, the legacy system, the system that we've been using for many years. Decentralized finance, all that means is, again, finance that's on the decentralized exchanges, where there's not one party or group of people making decisions for you, or that has control. For example, in your banking, wherever you bank, if you log in and you forget your password, well, you have to go to that website and click forget my password, and that bank will send you a link to reset it. Well, that doesn't happen in decentralized finance. You don't have you can't click I forgot my password. That doesn't exist. You have your own password. You have your own keys. There's not anyone controlling your password, nor do you want anyone having your password. If someone had your password, they can go in, look at all your you look at your wallet. Everything's public on the decentralized network. There's full transparency. So they have your wallet, which is okay. They can see everything that you own. But if they have your keys, they can then go into all these different decentralized applications and withdraw money or send that money to them. So decentralized finance, again, is going to be everything that's not traditional finance that's on any decentralized network. Min, any questions there? Does that all make sense? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay.
No, I think we're good. Yeah, it's good information.
Okay. Digital scarcity. Okay, so this is what made crypto, and what really started the boom was the idea that you can own property digitally. At first, that never made sense. Like, property rights in the digital world never really existed until you had Bitcoin. Bitcoin, through the blockchain, made it possible for people to actually own digital assets. And because it's on the blockchain, people could verify that that's an authentic, real asset, because everything's transparent. So digital scarcity came really with Bitcoin, when the algorithm said that there will only be 21 million Bitcoin. That's all there will ever be. They'll never make more Bitcoin. So because of that, digital scarcity actually became an idea. It was the inception of, wow, I can own digital property. So the only way to really do that is by the blockchain. And what is blockchain? Blockchain technology is, I'll take a step back, it was created by a group of individuals that wanted to send information and or money to and from people in a way that was cryptic, meaning that no one could go in and change the information or adjust it. So it was sent securely to and from different people, but yet it was fully transparent. So you can see what was being sent. You just couldn't go in and manipulate it. So by having that security and that protection, that created digital property. And also, because you have digital property, you can then create scarcity of that property. So that's where the idea of digital scarcity came from. Okay, I'm gonna skip a few of these just because we're gonna we're running low on time, and it's taking me a long time to go through some of this. But interoperability, it's always hard for me to say that one. Interoperability means that you can, if someone has an application, that it can integrate across many different ecosystems. A good example is maybe I'm going to use your iPhone, right? Your iPhone, if you lose it, right, and you wanted to get all your information back, well, Apple's able to put up all your information back in your iPhone. It's able to operate in the original one that you had and in the new one. It can take all the information from the cloud and upload it in a few hours. Well, take that idea and you can do that in the decentralized world, where you can take information that's sitting in one decentralized app and change it and have it work in another ecosystem, right? That's kind of in a very general sense what that means. Metaverse mining, right? What does that mean? Well, it goes back to the Bitcoin mining, where you have companies that are out there only mining Bitcoin. That's all they do. And why do they do that? Because it's profitable. I'll explain why. Well, right now, until the next period, so right now we're in a certain period where every miner gets, I think, 6.25 Bitcoins for every block of hash, what's called a hash, or every transaction that they verify. So if I'm a miner and I get elected to verify a block of transaction or a block of information that's going from one group of people to the next, and it comes through and I verify that everything's in good order, then I get rewarded 6.25 Bitcoin. So it's profitable, right? The expenses there are the energy that it takes to run these miners, right? It could be expensive depending how many miners that you have. And the more miners that you have, the better the chance that you have on getting selected to approve a transaction. And again, if you get approved, you get rewarded 6.25 Bitcoin. Okay. All right. So for the sake of time, I'm gonna end there. And if you have any additional questions, you can certainly join us and send us a message at Verus Financial, or join us at our next webinar, and feel free to bring up things that came up at this session that you need some more clarity on. Okay, so we're doing a little bit more detailed on decentralized finance, doing the deeper dive. Now, in decentralized finance, you can do a few things. And the first one is called staking. A staking pretty much means if you have assets, you can, much like a CD works in the traditional finance, where if you have money, you can put that at a bank and lock that money up for 6 months or 1 year. And if you do that, and the longer you do it, the higher interest rate you get. The same thing applies in decentralized finance, where if you have crypto assets, you can lock it up on a network and they will pay you interest so that they can then use that money and do other things like lending, much like a bank does, right? A bank uses your money, and for every dollar you have there, they're lending $5 or $10, right? Depending on how what their guidelines are. And the bank is then making money on the interest that they're earning from the people. So same thing works in the decentralized world. It's as opposed to having banks monitor that, it's the networks that are on that decentralized exchange doing that. Liquid pools. Liquid pools is a crowdsourced pool, right? Where you have various people pooling their money together, and whether it's cryptocurrencies or tokens, and it's locked in a contract. And what that network is doing is using those coins to facilitate trades. Okay, so for example, like any exchange, if Min and I want to trade our stocks, well, if I have 100 Apple shares and he wants to buy 50 Apple shares, the idea is that an exchange needs to match the buyer with the seller, right? And that's what Schwab does. That's what TD Ameritrade does. Well, for these exchanges that are much smaller, they need liquid pools, or they need people that are willing to put up their money in their network so they can help facilitate the transactions of people that want to buy Bitcoin, the people that want to sell Bitcoin, right? It's in liquid pools creates more liquidity, allows an easier way for people to, again, buy and sell their crypto assets. So, Schwab and TD Ameritrade have millions of people on their exchanges, and it's easy for them to find a buyer for the seller. However, these protocols are much smaller, need liquid pools or people to get together to pool their assets and keep them in that location so that they can much easier be able to be the conduit or the intermediary of buyers and sellers, which is the decentralized exchange. Finally, there's leverage. Leverage is much like you'll find in any bank, where you can post your assets and then take loans from your assets. Sometimes you're paying interest on that loan, and sometimes they're paying you. It all depends on supply and demand, right? If there's not enough of that asset, you could get paid to borrow money, right? If there's a lot of that asset, then you may be paying to borrow money. So it's much like any bank. Again, a lot of this that applies in traditional finance applies in decentralized finance. It's just your perspective needs to shift a little bit to understand that there's no one person controlling this, no group member or group of people. Again, this is all, a lot of these rules are voted by the people, right? So if you have your money in a lot of these protocols, whether you're staking or putting liquid pools, you actually have a vote. You have a vote on how they mitigate their guidelines and how they manage the actual protocol. Okay, so back to digital assets 101. What are NFTs, non-fungible tokens? This goes to that idea that you can own assets on the blockchain, right? And NFTs were created that, wow, if you can own an asset on the blockchain, what's possible? And that's where the evolution of art, the evolution of music, of gaming, and now real estate is on the blockchain. And all it is, it's kind of like in the traditional world, if we're looking at real estate, like an escrow company, right? An escrow company can verify that who owns a property and can view where it was bought, when it was bought, for how much. And it's all transparent to any buyer, right? Any buyer can see what's going on with that property. The blockchain is the escrow company. The blockchain, anyone can go and see who bought what, when, and on how much. And because it's on the blockchain, it's easily able to be transferred from one party to the next, similar to like an escrow company. An escrow company can easily transfer one property to another party, to another person, as long as it's verified that here's a contract, right? My contract says I'll buy that house for $1 million, right? The money was sent. Okay. Everything's in good order. Then the escrow company can transfer the title to the new owner. All that work, all that things that if you bought property before, if you can understand that, you can now understand how easy it is in an instant for that blockchain does that all automatically. Because everything's on the blockchain, as soon as money is sent from one party to the next, that person now owns that. And that person can keep it on the blockchain. Obviously, it will stay there and then send it to another person. They don't have to sell it. They can keep it for the rest of in their wallet on the blockchain for the rest of their lives. So, you know, the blockchain really created the ability for people to buy and sell art. Now you have music, where if Min was a singer and he wanted to put his song out on the blockchain, well, I can buy a fraction of that song. And if I own a fraction of that song, much in the real world, I get royalties. So if that song is all of a sudden now used in Tom Cruise's next movie, Top Gun 3, well, guess what? Those royalties, I'm going to get some of that because I'm a fractional owner of that song. Pretty cool. And it's done in an instant. Gaming. You have a lot of games that are now called play to earn. It's changing the way people play games online and now on the blockchain, where people are rewarded financially if they play the game. So if Min and I are playing a random game and the game says, you know, the more houses you build on this video game, the more money you earn, right? And then if you build more houses and you build more people that want to live in that home, you get to sell it. Well, this is done with real currencies in the blockchain world, and that you can then go to exchanges and realize US dollars. Now, the value of those currencies fluctuate depending on the demand, naturally, but it's bringing this whole element where during COVID, there's one game in particular called Axie, where a lot of people were actually able to provide for their family because they were playing these games. And that really helped them in a dire state where these families weren't able to work, but they were able to play these games and buy the essential foods, pay rent. So that really transcended gaming during COVID. And now, as I mentioned, we have a lot of real estate companies moving to becoming NFTs. A lot of real estate's becoming NFTs because it's so easy to sell property on the blockchain. You know, you don't have to work with any intermediaries. You can work, you know, Min and I, if he owned a property and it was on the blockchain and I want to, you know, buy it, I can send him, you know, 1 Bitcoin or 5 Bitcoins, and on the blockchain, I now have title of that, and no one else can buy that property because it doesn't exist. Although it exists physically in the real world, the property that you own exists only in the blockchain. So it can only be bought and sold there. So, you know, that's another way where a lot of real estate companies are kind of doing the both worlds. You know, they're gonna have the traditional way of the escrow, but also start migrating everything to real estate companies. Okay. Well, that's a wrap. Again, this is supposed to be very fundamental, very basic. There's a lot of key terms used here. I recommend if you watch it a couple times. You may need to see it 3 times for it to really resonate with you. And as we mentioned, we're here to support you on your journey in crypto, in decentralized finance. So if you'd like to set up a consultation with us, we do this all complimentary so we can educate and support you again on your journey. So thank you for your time. And that's